Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel comfortable and confident in having more control investing beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels. And if you've ever wanted to know what it takes to actually build and execute a plan to help you to get to financial freedom, even if you have a day job, then, well, this is the episode that you're going to want to listen to all the way to the very end. The reason for that is because today's guest not only hails from the beautiful Aloha state of Hawaii, he also started and has a very interesting relationship with beer money and real estate, at least when he got started. He also figured out really early on the cash flow versus appreciation game. And you know what? After 12 years of working for other people, he was able to fire his boss. So that was a really cool thing. Since then, he's gone on to help thousands of people around the globe. He's also a best-selling author, and he is the host of the Simple Passive Cashflow podcast. And I'm really excited to have today's conversation with Mr. Lane Kawaoka. Lane, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, aloha, man. Appreciate for having me.
Yeah, cool, man. So this is actually really cool, even before I say this, because like literally Lane and I are halfway around the globe. And he's going to tell you why in just a second. It's like 12-hour time difference. It's awesome. So Lane, what city are you in today, man?
Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm having, you had me wake up early here, having my coffee. I don't know if you're having your beer yet, but
maybe.
Halfway around the world.
Right on. This is really cool. So in Honolulu, actually my wife and I were just there about a month and a half ago. No, 2 months ago, just before the Corona stuff happened. So big fans. So Lane, what's the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
Well, it was Sunday yesterday, and I didn't have that Sunday blues that would get me really depressed to having to go back to work. Sometimes I forget how much that sucked. You know, some people, it hits someone like at 1 p.m. on Sunday, right?
Yeah. It's really nice that you don't have that and that you are able to pay that forward. So appreciate that, man. So look, man, there's so many different things that I would like to be able to talk to you about. And I know time is always too short, at least because we've got things to do. You're a very productive person. Me too. I gave a couple of the highlights. I know that there are things that you're doing aside from educating a lot of people, the number of units, but I just love the fact that you're in Hawaii and you epitomize what long distance investing is all about. I've talked about a couple of the things. Could you give us a bit more of your backstory so everybody can get to know you a little bit?
Yeah. So I started investing back in 2009 and just kind of followed I call it the linear path of what a lot of people were told to do: go to school, get a good job. My parents told me to be an engineer because I just happened to be good at math and science, which probably not the greatest advice, but it got me a good paying job out of college. And I was able to buy a house to live in, which I don't really believe in, especially for people in places where the rent to value ratios don't make sense. So I rented out that house, and that was where the beer money came in. You know, that first property in Seattle, Washington costed $350,000. It brought in $2,200 a month rent, and the mortgage was $1,600. And to a young 20-year-old something kid, you know, I was like, shoot, I have to just do this over and over again, so I don't have to work at this crappy job.
And so a lot of people think, how can those ratios work out, right? That's number one. And then you were able to put a plan together at which you were able to be freed from your crappy job. By the way, just so people know, what was that crappy job of yours that you were ready to get out of?
So I was an engineer. civil engineering. For those who don't know, those are the guys. You think that they're like at a desk designing stuff, but really they're just, the first job they're out there construction and inspecting. So the crews are building stuff, doing piles. Or I was in the railroad industry, so I'll be out there kind of inspecting how many spikes there were in each taut railroad tie, which is really lame. And it's cold, and you have to deal with all these like whiny babies that are like your dad's age, in a union workforce, and it's horrible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not fun, not fun. I realized I need to get it out of that as quickly as possible.
So you taken, like, you were at home. You said that you were basically said go to school, get the good job, which many of us were. I know that I was, but there was something that must have happened right along the way when you realized that you didn't want to stay in this kind of crappy job. You saw, but you could have gone anywhere. Why? What was it about real estate that really pulled you in that direction versus you doing something else?
I think it's just the money, right? I mean, 2,200 minus 1,600 for the mortgage brought in like $400 or $500, and I didn't know anything about the rent to value ratio needing to be 1%, which it wasn't. I didn't know anything about keeping money away, stash for capex expenses. But to me, it was just like, wow, I created like $5,000 extra a year. That's like if I would have got it like some kind of raise at work. But if I
Mhm.
keep doing this every year and a half, if I keep saving 30 grand and keep buying a property, I can create myself a raise every year. And at some point, this thing gets big enough where I don't even have to work.
Okay, perfect. So it started out as something that was really more financially related. At the same time, I know that your evolution, not just as an investor, but also as a person, goes beyond that, right? And I know that when you think about um, wealth, right, it goes beyond money, and you talk a lot about is the freedom to do what you want to do with whom you want to do, right? Um, Kind of how did that start for you? Or I guess kind of take us along that journey where it started out as financial, and I know now that it's about so much more than financial for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us will admit that in our 20s, we're just a bunch of boneheads. And so am I. Like, I just wanted to get out of the rat race and have some more beer money. So, I just bought another rental property, got my cash flow up a little bit more. And then I started to get this mindset of, I'm going to be out of this rat race after a while. I don't need to come to work. And we're kind of talking to that guy who has another guy who in mind that doesn't really need to be at work, and he's there for a different reason, not because he wants to be, or not because he has to be there, but because he wants to be.
Hmm.
In a way, I kind of went through that stage. I changed jobs after a while. I got out of the private industry and more to municipality, not for profit type of organizations, which was a nice breath of fresh air. Working with people who kind of wanted to be there. But still, I didn't really like the whole corporate mindset wasn't for me. So that was kind of where I transitioned to, you know, I did like to go in and I did like the people, but I didn't like the work, right? And I talk a lot about my folks about like the three kind of pieces, which is like liking who you work with, liking who you work for, like your boss, and then liking what you do. Like you really, to be happy, you need to have two of those three lined up. But for me, it was like I didn't like what I did. I didn't really like my bosses because they just told me that I didn't understand finances, and these are the boneheads who are like 50, 60 years old, couldn't even manage their own personal finances, and it's all reflected in their net worth. Um, and yeah, that was kind of where it all started. And then I started to realize I was going to be financially free. And then, what does any 20-year-old bonehead kid do but think I'm going to go travel the world, right? Go to Europe, go to Asia, just take a bunch of like Instagram photos of all my food. And I thought that was kind of lame after a while, as I got into my 30s and I realized that I was given this gift of financial freedom and I might as well just use it somehow and kind of give back and don't just be another douche pickle who just like Instagrams the heck out of their life and becomes one of these financial bloggers that they save up a bunch of money and they don't really give it back. They just kind of, live off of what they've kind of saved.
Yeah, and I know that giving back is something that is really important to you, because you demonstrate it constantly, right? And I think anybody who hasn't, and I know we'll talk about, I mentioned at the top of the show, but you have so much valuable content that is there for people to be able to see at simplepassivecashflow.com. I know I went there. And so if you're part of my tribe, I would also say, go check out the things that Lane is doing and sharing with you, because he's doing it from a place of, just being able to give back to people. And it's part of that evolution that I was asking you about before, to go from not just being focused on finances to be focused on things beyond that. So with the part of the Going Long podcast, we really are interested in understanding, like, you live in Hawaii, right? And so it's a wonderful, beautiful place that a lot of people want to go. Like I mentioned, my wife and I, we just traveled halfway around the world not too long ago to be able to enjoy it. And we live in Barcelona, so we can't complain. But you made a conscious decision to invest beyond your backyard, and primarily, I know, a lot on the southeast of the United States. Maybe you could help us to understand a bit of why you did that, because it's not something that everybody would normally do. Maybe they'd be looking for a property there, or a couple properties, or a duplex or quadplex in Honolulu.
Yeah, I mean, the first few units I bought were in Seattle, Washington.
Yep.
And places like Seattle, Hawaii, pretty much all of California, New York, they're what I call primary markets, or some people call these for top tier markets. Cool places to live, but your rent to value ratios for a good rental property are not going to be able to cash flow. It ain't going to work. As they say in California, no bueno. I don't know what they say locally there, but you're wasting your time.
Yeah, no vale la pena. No vale la pena.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny because I work with a lot of engineers, but they constantly like go on like Zillow trying to find for this diamond in the rough. I'm like, dude, you're just wasting your time. Quit doing that. Mm-hmm. But I think they're just, people do that because they subconsciously don't want to move forward. They don't want to get out of their comfort zones. They waste their time doing stupid stuff. But anyway, I mean, I started to realize that sophisticated investors who are looking for cash flow, who want that weekly occurrence of cash, they're going to places in the secondary and tertiary markets that not a lot of us think about, especially if you're not from America. You don't know a lot of these cities. I don't. Only place I know in Europe is Barcelona and France. That's all I know, right?
Yeah.
So places like Birmingham, Atlanta, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Ohio has a lot of places like that. Not sexy, but that's how most of America lives, in $100,000 houses. That's 1,400 square feet. And they pay about $1,000 a month. That's your typical turnkey rental right there.
Yep. And I'm from the great state of Ohio, by the way. So I know exactly what you're talking about. So there's a couple of things though, but still, I mean, you had that, you could have, even though you were in Washington and you did right there in your backyard. I mean, you had an opportunity. It was able to create a lifestyle for you so that you could go back to a place where you call home, right? Which is Hawaii today. Or maybe more around, once you decided that you wanted to go to those types of markets, just maybe give us an idea of what it was like to create and get to know and build teams so that you would be able to invest with or through other people, and just help us understand that. Maybe travel, technology, how some of those can play a role in being able to do that effectively.
Yeah, so to do this, you're going to need to build your teams, or to me, I kind of get away from people that use teams. I mean, they're employees, they're vendors that you use. So one of the most critical ones are property managers. These are your boots on the ground. And I normally like to buy properties with a third-party property management instead of going with a turnkey provider that had that in-house. I just thought of it was a conflict of interest, and I'd rather have somebody not under the umbrella of the turnkey provider company or the rehabber company, the person selling you, or the broker, the real estate broker. to give me another opinion, because that's the person who's going to run the damn thing at the end of the day. So they're kind of inheriting a problem if they mislead you.
I was going to say, maybe you could give us an example what you mean by that, because for some people it may be new when you talk about using third party versus under the umbrella of the turnkey provider.
Yeah, so let's say, take a company like Turnkey Provider Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there's a company like that. But what these guys will do is they'll take a dilapidated property, they'll rehab it. This is how they make money, right? They force the equity and then they sell it to folks like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna pay a premium, but hey, they're putting in all this effort and work and kind of doing it for us. And in turn, they're putting in with better material, more investor grade materials that are durable, and they're buying it in the right place, you would think. Well, you can't verify that, right? Because never listen to what your real estate broker says, unless you've kind of built up a relationship with. Like, a general rule of thumb is, like, if they say it's a B class area, it's a C class. So, yeah, how do you kind of verify that? Trust but verify, but you get another person. And some of these turnkey providers, they'll have a company to manage it in-house, or they might have like another offshoot LLC that's the same people running it. To me, it sounds really cool, right? Like, it's from a marketing perspective, it's like, oh, don't worry, Billy, we got you, right? We'll take you from soup to nuts all the way through. But I would prefer to go with a separate property manager, not in their company, not associated with them, that's going to tell me, hey, bro, like, those guys are cutting corners in the rehab, or that they're just that property they're just trying to dump that off to some stupid Hawaii investor or some guy halfway across the world.
Wow.
So, and at the end of the day, it's going to be you and the property manager. The turnkey provider, your broker, you'll never see them again after you close the deal and they get their commission.
Yeah, it's kind of like you've got the sandwich, right? On the front end, you have the acquisition, bringing it in, and then at some point you're going to dispose of an asset. But what's happening in the middle, that's actually where the magic happens, right? And how things are managed on a day-to-day basis, why the property manager is there. And so what I hear you saying is, by being able to have them separate, it gives you an ability to make sure that the right people are doing the right things at the right cost.
Yeah.
And the right quality.
A little point there. I normally tell my property manager, like, look, if you do a good job for me, you get the other side of the bread there. I'll let you list the property.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Keeps them close, and keeps them motivated as well.
Yeah. Unless you need to find a sucker the next generation of turnkey buyers to sell it to, right? Then you go back with the turnkey provider, because they have they got people lining up around the block trying to buy this turnkey real estate.
And I think we're gonna have to get you on the next time to take us even deeper on the turnkey real estate in your experience there, because I know you have massive experience and stuff. But I want to give you a chance to just tell us a little bit about what it is your platform and Simple Passive Cashflow, and how that's helping, how you are helping really thousands of people around the globe, and kind of what was the genesis of that for you?
Yeah, so I've kind of transitioned out of turnkey rentals. I got up to 11 of them. I realized buying single family homes, even small duplexes or fourplexes, is just not scalable. As a remote investor, you're using property management to kind of do your dirty work, but at some point you're just going to go bonkers, because even managing the manager is not scalable. And then I started to join different mastermind groups, and I realized that high net worth investors, mostly accredited investors and beyond, they're investing in private placements and syndications for diversification in different deals. They'll go into each deal at 50 grand per deal, and they diversify geographically in different asset classes. And it's just how the cool people in the country club invest. Kind of blew my mind, right? And they do all this other stuff like infinite banking and all this special tax techniques and legal practices. It's just kind of blew my mind, because it was so simple, right? And that's just not the stuff that, people like you and me, right? We didn't grow up in like the country club, right?
Nope.
But so I started to invest this way, and it was just building up my network of people who were experienced and best of class. And then because I was doing my podcast since 2016, people, I don't know, for some reason trusted me, I guess, but they were just like, dude, like, can we just like invest alongside or just copy you, right? Like, I guess that's what whale washing is, right? Like people will just watch what Warren Buffett does and just buy the same stock. Granted, 2 or 3 weeks too late, but like essentially that's what people were kind of asking for me to do. So I was like, cool. I mean, I'm going to do it anyway. So that's kind of what the investor club that I have is all about.
Okay. Fantastic. And I know the investor club is there. And as I mentioned before, I mean, just the types of lessons that you share, and just out of wanting to share and help to educate people regardless of where you are in the world, and how that can relate to your own personal finance, or if you're also looking to understand more about what to look for when you are investing in real assets and things like that. So I'm going to say it again. I think if you have the opportunity, and everybody does, because you have a phone on you at some point in time, just check them out, and what the things that Lane is sharing there. And I think it's also even better when you didn't come from that country club background, because you are also uniquely qualified to help other people. You can do that translation, from the guy and girl who just grew up in the middle class family to some concepts that are really simple, but not necessarily everybody knows about.
Yeah. I mean, you're either going up or you're going down, right? I mean, the whole system is created in such a way for, wealthy families. They're going to typically lose their wealth in 2 or 3 generations. And maybe my sick, twisted view in the world is like the whole system is created in such a way to keep regular, hardworking folks enslaved and keep working, right? I mean, they created this whole retirement system, and I don't know what you call the 401k, but it's like you put your money in this, but then now you can only invest in these crap investments, these retail investments that, everybody's getting their fees and all these hidden fees involved.
Yeah, it's a different world. It's a world that is very accessible. You just have to. It's not easy, but I mean, it doesn't take long to find out about some of the different concepts that you were talking about, the power of real estate and what it can provide, the different concepts like infinite banking. But you just have to do a little bit more work. It's not just picking up a phone, going, "Hey, listen, do this, do that," and super easy. So
yeah, takes half a brain, right? I mean. And it takes you got to be kind of lucky, right? I mean, that's how you kind of got into it. You were in Ohio, and that was, if you never were there, this probably would have never happened, right? You wouldn't have that perspective.
No, not at all. Yep, completely agree. Completely agree. And so it's been a big engine in wanting us to do different things. So a couple of things. So I just wanted to highlight something. I know we're running close to time here, but when I was talking earlier, your experience with turnkey, it's something that you've done in the past. Know that you really like to focus now on larger multifamily type of assets. You'd like to do that in 8 different states, which I think is just great, because you're able to do that from, once again, Hawaii, right? And you're in 8 different states with assets and over 3,500 units, which I think is just fantastic. And you're working with other people, so that is. It's inspirational, Lane. It's a very inspirational thing. So, I don't know, man. This is what's next for you right now.
Just picking up more deals, right? This is the beauty of this way of investing, right? It's scalable. And then just kind of on the big side, like what I'm basically doing is I'm diversifying in different markets, different people. Because you never know, right? I mean, people make mistakes, right? So I don't want to put all my eggs in one operator's basket. And then in different asset classes, multifamily apartments is what I do a lot. But I'm also dabbling in mobile home parks. Some days, more commercial stuff. Sometimes I even like to get out of real estate, right? With some oil and gas or some life settlement investing. And the way I invest these days is I basically dollar cost average. Okay. And I try and go into a deal every quarter. and just kind of keep going in. As long as it cash flows, the way I figure is like, who cares what the economy is? Like people are asking like, well, what about this COVID-19 pandemic? Like, I don't care. This is exactly the reason why I invested in cash flow stuff in the first place. I don't care. It's the cash flows and it'll continue to cash flow.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense. Makes tons of sense. So, Lane, look, I want to keep talking to you forever. We could probably talk forever, but I know you have some things to do. I have some things to do as well. And for those that are listening on the treadmill, they're probably thinking, "Oh, we're coming close to the end of my workout." So, but listen, I always like to leave with three, what I like to call the going long final three questions, but I never ask those questions unless you tell me that you're ready for me to ask the questions. So Lane, are you ready for me to ask the questions?
Ready. Let's
awesome.
Go.
Cool. So first question, man. I live in Barcelona. I really love living in Europe. You've kind of given us some heads up earlier, but I want to know, what is your favorite European city that you've either visited or is on your bucket list to visit?
I've never been in Europe, dude. Like, I hear Barcelona a lot. I see a lot of friends going there.
Right on. So we're going to take another vote for Barcelona. And we'll be ready for you here, by the way. We've got some nice places to show you. And number two, you've probably made one or two mistakes along the way to your success or successes. Be interested in one lesson that you would share with, and just one, because I know you've got lots. One lesson that you would share with someone who is on the path to becoming a successful investor.
Yeah, I would not be afraid of debt. I think that's your grandma's way of thinking about investing. Sophisticated investors, they don't worry about the debt or the interest rate. People are always fixated on how much interest rate goes up and down. Sophisticated investors don't care about that. They only care about how much cash flow it is, because cash flow is your oxygen to hold on to the asset in bad times, and how your net worth is increasing. And you increase your net worth by using more leverage. But let's use leverage wisely, right? That's where the cash flow comes in. You maximize the leverage, but you make sure you optimizing for adequate cash flow in case of rocky times.
Okay. All right, cool. So don't be afraid of debt. Number three, I know that you are a reader. So what book would you recommend?
I would probably only recommend Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. There's a lot of good fundamentals in there, but after you read that book, really stop reading books, bro. Like just analyze deals, right? I see it too much in my clients. Like they've read all these books. I'm like, what have you done? Go and do something. 10% is the academic part. 20% is your network with mentors, etc. And then 70% is actually doing it.
I love the 70-20-10 methodology, and you just it was a nice. You just touched my heart there. So I'm a big.
You're a 70% man.
Yeah, exactly. 70-20-10. There you go, Lane. Listen, man, you have you shared a lot with us. I really appreciate you. I mentioned to you earlier. I think you're doing a lot of really great things, taking a lot of action, and helping lots of people around the globe. So that is something that goes beyond the accolades of what you've been able to be able to accomplish in terms of number of units and all that other kind of stuff. So I just want to continue to wish and hope and trust that you're going to continue to go out and positively affect lots of other lives around the globe, man. So because of all the stuff you shared with us, look, I'm sure I want to keep talking to you. And I know everybody who's watching us on the video channels or listening to us in the car, on the treadmill, they're trying to figure out how in the world do I get in touch with Lane, find out more about him, his team, what they're doing. What's the best way, Lane? Help us out.
I would say check out my podcast, Simple Passive Cashflow. It's iTunes, Google Play. And totally willing to help out people, but you got to put in the effort. You got to go listen to the first 8 or 12 podcasts. I just can't talk to people who haven't put in the time. Right. I mean, and it's just like talking to anybody, right? Like you got to put in effort, learn basically what they know, as opposed to so tell me about real estate investing. Right? No, get out of here. Right.
We need to be productive. Yes.
You need to be productive, right? Everything. I mean, that's why I put everything on the internet for free.
Yep.
So I have to wait. Like, I mean, I tell my friends how to invest. Nobody does it. And it's just wasting my time. So that's why I made the podcast. So it's just like, dude, if you're interested in it, go consume it for free.
So listen, Lane has just made it super simple. Like, listen to his first 8 podcasts at least. He's got a website full of wonderful content that is so valuable. And so, yeah, that, those are the first 2. Do those 2 things first. And then Lane also makes it really easy to contact him through his website, himself and his team. So Lane, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us and the Going Long audience. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a big pleasure, man. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it, Billy.
All right, cool. So, and for the Going Long audience, just want to thank you once again. I'm going to ask you to go out, because we're getting started, and to go out and at least share this episode with 2 to 3 other people. Make sure Lane's left so much positive information here. Leave us a 5-star review. And I'm looking forward to welcoming you back to the next episode. So go out and make it a great day. Wow. Don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? When I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long-distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.